Hello everyone, it's William by candlelight. Difficult day today, very busy, but here I am managing to get this one in, so I'm glad about that. The week is not going to get any easier, but I will try to keep up. So, you remember in the last video, I hope you watched it, the subject was matrimony, one could say. Dmitri was blindsided by the news that his cousin, Grand Duke Andrei, had married his mistress, the ballerina Kshesinska, and what was far more shocking than that, what was indeed, in Dmitri's estimation, like something from a comic opera, was the fact that his other cousin, Andrei's brother Kirill, or Cyril, had tipped his hand by granting Andrei's now wife the title of Princess Krasinskaya, and the son of their union, Prince Krasinsky. So I say tipping his hand because of the fact that only a reigning monarch can bestow titles. And here is Cyril doing exactly what Dmitri has long been fearing he would do, taking that next step toward declaring himself the empress in exile, and he could not have done it in a more forceful and unambiguous way, because, as I say, only emperors, only kings, only sovereigns can do this, and I would argue, and at that moment in his life, in 1921, I think Dmitri would argue as well, that only a reigning monarch can do that. So matrimony, yeah, maybe that was actually, well, there's no maybe, that has actually been on Dmitri's mind. We know that from previous diary entries. He really desperately wants to get married and have this life, this ideal life that he envisions, family life. He's lonely, fair enough. So, is there anything else I need to say? No, just that you can judge for yourself whether Andrei's marriage was a little bit uncomfortable for Dmitri because of his own desire to be married and to have that kind of life. Andrei now had both a wife and a child. Okay, so let's dig in. Nothing particularly interesting is going on at the moment. Of course, I don't know anyone here and don't have any conversations. I tried to talk to Ksenia about the Sokolov affair. I tried to show her the necessity of getting a letter from Empress Maria Fyodorovna with personal instructions to Gears. Ksenia promised me she would do it, but apparently that has again turned out to be impossible. Now I'll turn to my own personal experiences. Naturally, it's stupid to raise the subject and write about it because it has to do with something that happened less than 2 weeks ago. But nonetheless, I'll feel better if I talk about it, even if it's only on the pages of my diary. The thing is, I've come face to face with a huge problematic blank, the outcome of which will affect my entire future life. On my first evening in Copenhagen, at the American mission, I met a young lady by the name of Countess Moltke. Her mother is a Bonaparte, and her father is a Dane. And, strange though it may seem, I immediately felt a great attraction to her. It's the first time in my life that I've cast a serious glance at a young lady, and naturally that brought me face to face with a new problem, to wit, the prospect of taking a wife. The more time passes, the more she, this Marie-Louise Moltke, attracts me. Yes, more and more. But every thought rooted in cold reason opposes such a possible act. But, on the other hand, I am forcefully and resolutely tempted by images of a peaceful family life. Wow, That is saying a lot, my friend. That's saying a lot if we pay close attention to what he's writing here. And we are, let's give ourselves some credit, we are his confidants. Maybe not the ones that he anticipated when he wrote these words down, but he didn't have anyone that he felt like he could talk to about that. Certainly not the rather jealous Miss Lucia Marling. So he's talking to us. He's writing it down in his diary to make himself feel better, and always with the understanding, in Dmitri's case, with the desire, let us say, not necessarily the understanding, that someday the things that were important to him would become known to someone. I think he mostly anticipated his own progeny, but he was a person who always had a need to have his story be told. So we're spending just a few minutes on this subject of this Sokolov investigation that has been recently very important to Dmitri. Not so recently, so going back to January and to the end of 1920, one of his big reasons for going to the south of France, the business aspect of it, was to talk to Grand Duke Andrei about the Sokolov investigation, and to talk to Nikolai Nikolaevich about it, and to get some agreement within the family on what to do about the documents and indeed the alleged finger of the Empress Alexandra that had been brought to France by the investigator Sokolov. And Dmitri really wanted to be in charge of that. I mentioned that the other day, and he was doing everything he could to get the person who was considered the head of the family and the next of kin, which was the Dowager Empress, to give him official permission and support to take possession of these things. There were many other interested parties, one of whom was this Gears, and Dmitri wanted at all costs to prevent them from taking possession of these things. I'm not really sure what his motivation was, but he wanted to, his idea was that they should be put into a bank vault in Paris, and that he should be the key holder until something more official could occur. And in fact, the problem was, the obstacle was, by and large, the fact that you couldn't even bring up the subject to the Dowager Empress. So he had tried to sort of twist Ksenia's arm. He'd actually gone specifically to London to talk to Ksenia. She was there at that time, and to try to get her mother to sign off on this, or at least Ksenia herself speaking for her mother to sign off on it. But that and Ksenia had said that she would do that. But then by the time Dmitri had gotten back across the English Channel, she'd changed her mind. And Dmitri finds himself in the same situation in Copenhagen. Apparently Ksenia is now in Copenhagen as well. But as we have already seen, Dmitri was tactful enough and, was kind enough not to have brought the subject up to the Dowager Empress when the two of them met. So he's still hoping that Ksenia can do that. And Ksenia's just sort of, it's clear by now. She's just saying, oh, sure, because she doesn't want any kind of confrontation with him. And then she's just going off and not doing it. So that's that in a nutshell. Now we go on to the big topic. Dmitri not saying he's in love, but saying that he's greatly attracted to someone. And yeah, he has to talk about it. It's going to affect his entire life, the decision that he makes now in Copenhagen. So then he gives us the details. He met her at a ball or a dinner or something at the American mission on his first night in Copenhagen, and it's significant that he uses the word barishnya to describe her. It's not a word that exists in English, although you more or less get the sense of it, a young lady. So this means a girl of family, a girl of good family, of the nobility. So it's more specific than it would be in English. And it certainly means an unmarried young lady. And it also means a young lady who is presumed to be a virgin. Well, maybe, was she presumed to be? Not necessarily, but, she's in that role. So she's in that position where Dmitri, from day one, when he started having, relations with women, from day one, he was not going to do that with young ladies of good family who were unmarried. And that wasn't even his primary attraction. His primary attraction was to older and experienced women. And according to the ethics of that social class and that time period, married women were pretty much fair game. So, yeah, when he says that this is the first time that he's ever cast a serious glance at a young lady, at a barishnya, he means that that has never been his thing, both for ethical reasons and for reasons of personal taste. So this kind of, if we take him at face value with this kind of puts paid to the idea that he was ever really motivated by the idea of marrying either Grand Duchess Olga, Nicholas and Alexandra's eldest daughter, or, as Felix Yusupov alleged, Princess Irina, the daughter of Grand Duchess Ksenia and Grand Duke Alexander Mikhailovich. So that would seem to intimate that, yeah, neither of those things had really been something that he'd been serious about. So anyway, this time he's telling us he is serious. He's not, as I said initially, he's not saying he's fallen in love. He's not going to go that far. But he's attracted to her. He's greatly attracted to her. He was greatly attracted to her immediately. Apparently the first time his eyes fell upon her, or the moment they were introduced. So what does that mean? Well, does it mean sexual? Does it mean like, oh, this is such a sweet girl that would make a good wife? Well, we are going to have more of this. He is going to talk more about this. I needed to stop this evening without letting it get too long. So when I came to the end of a full paragraph, I decided to stop. But it's not Dmitri stopping his what he has to say about this topic. Okay, so all of this, he had been in such a depression, a deep funk, if you remember back when he was in Paris in the first 2 weeks of January, because he so much wanted to get married and settle down, but he just didn't see how he could do it, and he was really quite depressed. And reading between the lines, at least when you read it in the original Russian, in this part of the diaries, you also get that sense of depression. And it didn't, Andrei's marriage hasn't helped the matter. It's made things worse. And Dmitri just doesn't know what to do. You would think that this would make him happy, and under other circumstances he probably would have been ecstatic, but this time around he just can't be, because he's worried about, so he talks about cold reason. Cold reason opposes it. Well, why does cold reason oppose it? I mean, there's no throne, right? And as he's said in the past, if fate means for him to be the ruler of Russia, then fate will work that out. But he still just can't bring himself to look at it that way, genuinely, even though he himself wrote that on paper. So, on the one hand, he says that he knows it's the wrong thing from the point of view of dispassionate reason, but on the other hand, this temptation is so forceful. This idea of finally being able to achieve what he's wanted his whole life so far, a family. So where is this going to go? Well, we will see. Let's talk a little bit about the young lady herself. She was, as Dmitri says, Countess Marie-Louise Caroline von Moltke-Wittfeld. So Dmitri was never, he and I have that in common. He was never good with foreign titles. He leaves out the von. But as he says, her father is a Danish nobleman. Her mother is, so her father's name was Count Adam von Moltke-Wittfeld. And her mother is Louise Eugenie Bonaparte. She has 3 brothers. And she is 6 years younger than Dmitri. So about 6 years and 2 months younger than him. She was born on the 7th of November, 1897. She's currently 23 years old. He's coming up on his 30th birthday. So there's, that's certainly reasonable. And yeah, what else can I tell you about her? Well, maybe it's a spoiler, but I don't think so, because you already know that Dmitri's not going to marry her. So she actually would not get married until 1940, oddly enough. She would get married in Biarritz, the same place where Dmitri himself got married in 1926. And she would marry a Spaniard from Madrid named Raimundo Fernandez Villaverde. So yeah, there you go. That's about all I've been able to dig up on her. I would love to see a picture of her. Maybe if any of you who are watching this are Danish, you could find something out about her. I would be terribly, terribly grateful, I assure you. So yeah, that's it until tomorrow, and we'll find out more about this sort of Hamlet-like experience that our poor Dmitri is having. To marry or not to marry, that is the question. All right, see you next time. Bye.